Today on AGetc, we're horsing around with Cowboy Logic's Lee Hart as he guides us through tips on working with a buddy soar horse. Next, we're recapping important soybean information as you move into the growing season. And we'll end with how targeting chefs and giving them tools on how to prepare beef in different ways might help increase meat demand. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
This is Mojo. He's a young student of mine's horse, and he's extremely buddy sire. So we're up here on the top of the hill away from all the other horses. What I expect when I start moving him here is I expect him to start talking and really focusing more on what's going on at the barn than what I'm asking him to do. And through redirection, I'm going to help this horse come back to me and get focused. I may have to disengage his hip a little bit. I may have to ask his shoulders to step through. But through those different processes, I'm going to help get this horse focused. We're going to do the same thing we were doing earlier on Cherokee, just working right here on this bridge. When this horse's head comes up and both ears go forward, I'm going to call that he's not paying attention to me at that stage, and I'm going to redirect right then, and I'm going to try and keep him where he starts looking to me for leadership instead of looking to the other horses. So we're going to get started here. I'm just going to walk him off. I'm going to really be watching for his expression. Go ahead and ask him to trot. We're going to work around this bridge. Right there, he kind of left me. I'm just going to redirect him. He's kind of pushing. Anytime I feel this horse getting out from between my legs, which means he's pushing somewhere I'm not asking him to go, at this stage I'm going to redirect. Like right now, he's pushing toward the outside. So I'm just going to redirect him. Right rein, left leg there. I'm going to move him off. I'm going to come around here. I'm going to ask him just kind of move straight down this bridge here. If I feel him, that was really nice. He's going to go faster than what I want, so I'm just going to disengage the hip here, push it around. And that's just kind of a halfway effort. There, that's better. Now I'm just going to release and let him walk out from there. I'm just going to work on. Kind of watch his horse's ears. They're staying back. He's starting to really think about me instead of about everything else. As I turn him and come back here, he kind of got his ears up. That head came up. I'm just going to redirect. What happens when a horse gets fearful of something, they'll usually flee. And when they flee, they'll go to a point where they feel safe, and then they'll turn back to it and they'll re-inspect it. Well, we need to remember that as riders and leaders for our horses. Instead of holding them in a place where they're fearful, we need to allow them to create that space. When they create that space, then move back forward. But before we lose their attention and the drive of that hip, we need to redirect them away and gradually keep working our way there. Through approach and retreat, you'll start getting that horse confident in new environments very, very quick. But once again, if I had this horse and he was really, really bothered by something, and he was in a high anxiety state, if I went to trying to just hold him or beg him to stand still, he wouldn't come to me nearly as fast. And in fact, it might be like I was lighting a piece of dynamite. He may really leave me, because when they get in that anxiety state, what they are asking us for is for us to step up and to be the leader. The last thing any horse wants to do is be the leader. So anytime you get on your horse's back, always ask yourself, what is my horse's mental state today? What does he need from me? And when things aren't going right, remember, he woke up this morning, he wanted to eat, and he wanted to drink. Mother Nature wired those two things into him. He didn't wake up and say, I hope you come out and ride me. It's our responsibility to our horse when we get on them to be a leader and to help them through their emotions.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm, so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Hi, I'm Stu Duncan with Kansas State University, the Northeast Area Extension Crops and Soil Specialist, and I'm here at the 2018 K-State Soybean School, sponsored by the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas State University, and Channel Seeds over here, speaking at Rossville today. And I just wanted to just add a few words about soybean management and things to look ahead to as we get into the coming season. As most of you growers know, there's not just one thing as we're managing our beans as we look ahead into the season. Many factors will come into play: variety selection, traits, which is of course part of our variety selection, early weed control, planting practices, and some of the cultural tips that we oftentimes will come into as the season rolls along. They can shift and change, and we need to be able to shift and change with them. As we pick a soybean variety, in the northern half of the state, we will want to run from a 3-5 to maybe a 4, early 4 to a mid 4 group. In the southern half of the state, we're generally going to be looking from at the earliest an early 4 to a late 4, unless we're planting those group 5 indeterminate beans down in the extreme southeast Kansas. We're probably going to want to look at a soybean that's got a proven track record. We always want to try something new. If there's something new out there that's been looking good, we want to look at any kind of a track record we can establish. Oftentimes varieties change so rapidly as they become available to us, but we'd like to look at something, even if you don't have a long track record. We like to look at the K-State performance test. That's the first place I always go, but I also look at company records, and oftentimes I like to see something that has some replicated, I don't care whether it's small plots or large replicated strips from fields, even strip demos at times. You can still get some pretty good information, see how variety performs, but get the most, of course, current data results that we can get hold of and compare them over several locations. Conditions are going to vary. You'll probably be able to see, and that's one thing with the performance test from K-State. It's from all over the state. You've got a wide variety of soils, planting dates, all those things you can see. In a good year, probably nothing really stands out, but if you can get we will find a terrain over Kansas where you're going to see different extremes that you can run into. Of course, you can go to too much of an extreme, so use some good judgment on that. Also like to look at, again, not some of the other characteristics. If you're in the western parts or in some certain areas, if you've seen iron chlorosis before, and we have seen it in eastern Kansas. I'm sitting right now 4 miles from a field that was just really riddled with iron chlorosis 2 or 3 years ago. Whether they can get that remedied or not is beside the point, but it would have benefited those folks to have planted a good high yielding variety. And if it does have some iron chlorosis tolerance, maybe it would have helped, maybe not. In severe cases, a lot of times we've just seen in Kansas research, just go with a good yielding variety. In the part of the world where we're at right now, you might be aware of the cyst nematode resistance you might want to pull out of that performance test. But regardless, check your varieties, check with your seedsman, check with your county agent. All good sources of information for tracking some things down.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source, together we grow.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
My name's Eric Adey. I'm with the Kansas River Valley Experiment Field. I manage that. I'm the agronomist in charge there. Sudden death has been a problem for quite a few years here at Dennis, Kansas River Valley. And we have a number of studies that we work on at the River Valley Experiment Field. We are looking at anything from fertility to variety selection to seed treatment. One of the things we've been looking at recently has been planting date. And we know that farmers, at least according to the research from other areas, to increase soybean yields, we need to go to an earlier planting date, which is typically what they're looking at is the end of April, probably the first part of May. But here in the River Valley, because of sudden death has been such a problem, and they've seen that it looks worse when they plant earlier, they hold off on planting till after at least the middle of May, maybe even later, maybe towards the end of May. So we set up these experiments to see, is sudden death, how much more severe is it with an earlier planting date compared to a later planting date? And what we have seen in two different studies, I won't go into all the details here, but basically, yes, we do see more SDS when we plant earlier. It's favored by cooler, wetter soils. But we also see a significant yield increase, especially when you're planting a more tolerant or resistant variety. We don't have anything really resistant, but we have some that really have a lot better tolerance. And we can see like up to, on average, I have a 3-year average of like a 5 bushel yield increase, going like the 2nd of May, and then that's 5 bushels over planting at the 20th of May. And then it keeps dropping off, the yield potential keeps dropping off when you get into the 1st of June, and then the end of June it really drops off. So take-home message is that planting a resistant variety, or the most tolerant variety we can realize a lot better yield potential, some of that yield potential. If we're planting a susceptible variety, we won't see any benefit. The research we have doesn't show any benefit to planting earlier. You just as well wait till the end of May, and that's all you're going to get. But if we take good management practices, planting good variety for our area, good yield potential, it will show some of that yield response to planting earlier in the season. So I think that is an option. We can help increase soybean productivity by planting earlier, but we need to manage for SDS. The other things we've been working on, SDS, we've done a lot of seed treatment work for companies. We look at things, we kind of get the first look at things before they're released to the field. And there has been one product that came out, is Flupyrum. Bayer markets it as a Levo. It's been very effective, and it also is effective against cyst nematode, soybean cyst nematode. And there's an interaction between cyst nematode and SDS. We're not sure exactly what it is, but we know if we help control or a variety is resistant to cyst nematode, we have less SDS. So that is out there. I did look at a couple of products for different companies last year that did show some promise. I don't know if they'll produce them and get them on out to the market, but there may be some other options for seed treatments to control SDS. Careful variety selection can make a huge difference. Now, a given year, we can have much more severe SDS than another year. I've only been here 6 years, and it's really varied. Some of it's related to soil moisture. It's hard to pin down. My take on it is if we get above average normal rainfall in June, right before bloom, we generally start to bloom right at the 1st of July, that is when we're set up for the most severe SDS. The last 2 years we've had above average rainfall in April and May, but a little below average or average during June. We've had very little SDS. Now, we have a long-term fertility study which wasn't planned to look at SDS, but we did see SDS show up in this corn-soybean rotation in the soybean year in 2014 as very severe, and it turns out the phosphorus is the key ingredient, highly significant. And then in 2016 it showed up exactly very similar results. It didn't have the severe SDS, but the results followed the treatment level almost identically. So maintaining and a good soil level of phosphorus is going to be probably very key in reducing the severity of SDS. And a combination of a lot of things, getting a good variety, getting a seed treatment, keeping your phosphorus levels up, and I think we're going to have a good chance of really seeing an increase with an earlier planting date in the yield potential of soybeans.
Summer is busy at Tarwater Farm and Home. We have just about everything you'll need for your summer projects, and we're consistently competitively priced. Tarwaters can help make your grass and garden grow, and we have a huge variety of equipment to cut it. If you have a farm, Tarwaters has the products and equipment to keep it going strong. And our expanded parking lot will make it even more convenient to shop. So come see us at Tarwater Farm and Home in Topeka.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
My name is Dorival Ruiz Diaz, soil fertility specialist in the Department of Agronomy at Kansas State. Today we're talking about fertility management for soybean. There are several issues that are relevant for fertility management and soybeans. Some of those that we are seeing more frequently in recent years relate to phosphorus management, which is one of the main limiting nutrients typically for soybeans. But we also start to see more and more low pH develops in different parts of the state, even in regions like central and western Kansas, where we typically tend to see more high pH soils. In recent years, we start to see some low pH develops in those regions. And that can be quite important for soybean as we see more and more soybean acres moving west. That can be something that we need to watch pretty closely when it comes to fertility management. One of the things that we highlight, especially for these two nutrients, for phosphorus and for soil pH, is soil testing. It still becomes still one of the main tools we have for managing two variables, and soybean again show very good response to phosphorus in particular. Maintaining good fertility levels is really important for soybeans. We also do see significant yield increases when we are in that low soil test situation. We see significant yield increases to fertilizer application in soybeans. In the case of pH, similar situation, looking at history of soil tests and managing accordingly is the key. One thing that we highlight also when it comes to soil pH is in those situations where we have no-till systems, where we are not going to incorporate any lime, we need to be looking specifically the upper 3 inches. So a more shallow sampling depth can become really important in those no-till management system where lime will likely be applied on the surface, and again, mostly interacting with the upper 2 to 3 inches in the field. Other aspect, fertility management points that we need to keep in mind for soybeans are usually related to potassium, which is especially important for some parts of the state, eastern part, and especially southeast Kansas. Always something that we need to watch very closely. We do. Last year we saw some cases of potassium deficiency also develop in some fields that has optimum soil test levels. A lot of that has to do with planting conditions, compaction, for example, that can be a big challenge. So just again, one thing to keep in mind, wet planting conditions can develop some sidewall compaction, and that usually turns into some sort of nutrient deficiency, and potassium is typically the one that tends to show in that kind of situation. So that is definitely something important when we're talking about potassium in particular. Other nutrients, micronutrients is always a big question for soybean, and it's something that is very is less likely to see a response. However, we do have some fields, especially sandy soils, low organic matter soils, that can show a response to micronutrients. And again, we need to be paying attention to those fields. Definitely can be economical. The key is, are we identifying those fields that are good candidates for a micronutrient fertility program? In terms of information, we are doing several of these meetings this year with producers. We do have our soil testing lab website at K-State, where we have a lot of the information in terms of recommendations for fertility management in soybeans. We do have the e-updates that I definitely encourage producers to look at as we are providing some guidelines and some timely recommendations for our major crops in Kansas.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide, presented by Lucas Oil, featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV, the all-new Better Horses Network.
About 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better and didn't get better. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Got down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over, and it just kept getting better and better. And within 6 weeks, I was back digging post holes and doing the other hard work that I'd been doing before the accident. And I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
When chefs demand beef on their menu, popular cuts often steal the spotlight. A visit to the Certified Angus Beef Culinary Center shows what they might be missing.
We're mainly focused on being creative and showing underutilized cuts that they can put on their menus to kind of, spread the word on, there's more than just a fillet kind of thing. And then we also have a built-in meat lab in our facility where the groups go back and they hang out with our meat scientists for the day. And after that, they're charged and fully ready to taste some really awesome beef. So that's what we're here for.
Visiting chefs find economic benefits when applying those new ideas.
They test it out in their restaurants and they're able to change a menu option. They're able to save a couple dollars on their menu by switching a specific middle meat to an underutilized cut. And we get a lot of really cool emails talking about how an experience they had here was taken back to their restaurant or to their hotel, and now they're sharing it with their guests in their local area.
After handling a side of the best Angus beef, the pros convey what they know to their customers.
It's really important that they have a story to tell on their menu, we're realizing. So they like to be able to tell the story that they're using a cut of beef that's normally just put into hamburger, or sausage, and we're using it as a center of the plate item, and they're getting a really great experience at this restaurant.
Chef Ashley says high-quality marbling drives any new cut's potential.
There's not a lot of utilization and creativity out there with beef unless it's coming from us. So it's really important that we take pride in what we do, and we take pride in where it starts, and where it starts is the most important.
I'm Bob Cervera.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.